So many SaaS companies start running ads when they shouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole because their market, their economics, and their offer just don't make sense for paid yet. Now, my name is Alessandro Cutri, and I've worked with 50 plus SaaS tech and AI companies and helped them generate millions in revenue and in pipeline. A lot of these clients, we told them to wait before touching ads. So in this video, I'm gonna show you the exact framework and mental model we use when determining whether a SaaS company is actually ready to run ads or whether there's something that needs to be fixed first. So without further ado, let's get right into things. Okay, so the first thing that we do before we run paid ads is we actually look at this calculator that we've generated here. I'll be linking this calculator in the description that you guys can also use for yourself to determine whether or not you can actually be profitable. But I'm gonna walk you through each of these individual metrics to determine how we make a decision whether or not this company is ready to run paid ads. So first of all, we wanna understand your monthly subscription per customer. Now this calculator is under the assumption that you are a demo-based SaaS and you're not just a product-led growth SaaS where you could just get somebody to sign up on the checkout page. So the numbers are gonna reflect that. Now, I don't have one built out for that PLG kind of motion there, so you might just wanna click off this video if that's not you. Anyways, this will show you exactly how much you need to get on a cost per qualified call, how much you need to close, and if that's gonna be profitable or not for you. So the first things first is we wanna understand your monthly price per customer. So let's just go some examples here. Let's say you have a $500 SaaS, and let's say your monthly churn rate is 5%. Now, if your churn rate is 10% or 15%, obviously it's gonna be way harder for you to run paid ads. The bigger your churn rate, the more difficult it is to get a return on your investment from what you're paying in terms of CAC. So let's say your gross profit margin, right, on an actual customer, we're not calculating net because this is just how much a customer is actually worth to you. We want to say this is probably going to be like 80% for most SaaS companies. And that will tell us that, okay, if we have a 80% margin and a $500 monthly subscription with a 5% monthly churn, that is a $400 gross profit per customer. And the average lifetime value is 20 months with an average revenue LTV of 10,000 with an average $8,000 gross profit LTV. So what that essentially tells us is that one customer is worth $8,000 in gross profit LTV. So that is very valuable information that we want to be able to use when we're modeling out our customer acquisition cost. After we understand this, now we're going to go to the customer acquisition cost. So the first thing that we're going to put in here, which is your cost per qualified book call, or you can call it cost per qualified demo. So let's say this is $250, right? So typically we see for our clients anywhere from $100 to $300 is their cost per qualified book demo, right? So say this is $250. A good show rate on these cost per qualified demos, so basically the amount of people that you book that actually show up to a call, should be around 70%. In some cases, if you get really good, they could be even 80 and 90%. But as you can see, these numbers here affect your total customer acquisition cost. So everything here, as far as your cost per qualified book call, show rate, qualified rate, and close rate is all going to affect your overall customer acquisition cost. So anyways, we're going to keep this here at 70% show rate and qualified rate on showed calls. That's the next metric we're going to look at. Basically what this is out of those calls that actually show up, how many of them are qualified? Now, what we typically determine as qualified are people that have a budget, they have the authority to make a decision, and they have a need for your product, right? If those are the three things that they have, then that's a qualified call. What we'll say is in this example is that 60% of the calls that show up are qualified. Well, let's just say, for example, like you book 10 calls, you get 70% of them to show up. That is 7 of them. And out of those 7, 60% are going to be qualified. And then out of those people who are qualified, this is the close rate on those qualified calls, right? So this should be anywhere from 25% to 30% on qualified demos. And these are the typical numbers that you can expect. Now here at the bottom, you'll have either agency fee or internal team, right? So whoever's running your ads or yourself, if you're running your ads, obviously you can put this to 0. There's no retainer that you're going to have to pay anybody. But typically if you're a SaaS founder, you're going to want some help with this. You're going to want to, hire internally, or you're going to want to hire an agency. So you could put that inside of this itself to be able to calculate that. So for example, let's say you're paying an agency $4,000 a month, and your monthly ad spend will also contribute to your overall CAC now, if that makes sense. Because if you spend more on monthly ad spend, you can actually bring down your overall cost per call, because now that you're paying an agency, and that will give you a better overall cost per call that will lower your CAC essentially. So let's say for the sake of this example, let's just put monthly ad spend at $5,000. And now these are the metrics that we have here. So basically our total CAC with the funnel plus the agency is $4,200. And our agency fee per customer is $1,900. And our CAC from our funnel is $2,300. So for example, if you weren't working with an agency, now your overall CAC is $2,300. Hey, real quick, if you're watching this trying to figure out whether paid ads make sense for your business right now, that's actually one of the very first things we work through with every SaaS company we talk to. We take a look at your offer, your numbers, your market, and tell you exactly where you stand. And if it does make sense, we build the entire system for you and guarantee to get your ads profitable within 90 days. If that sounds interesting, there's a link below to book a call with our team if you want us to take a look. Anyways, let's get right back into it. if you are working with an agency or you have an internal hire managing the ads, now you can see how that affects things as well. So for example, like I said, if you were to bump up your ad spend, let's say to 10,000, now all of a sudden your total CAC gets brought down because your overall monthly retainer and your ad spend have a better blended cost per call. So that would be $3,300, right? Is your total CAC. But your obviously CAC from your funnel stays exactly the same. Let's just, put this back at 6,000 here so that we can keep moving through the exercise itself. So what this tells us is that, okay, here's how many calls that we need to get a customer, right? So we need 9.5 book calls, 6.7 showed up, 4.7 qualified, 4.0 to close. That's one customer at these rates here. Now, the payback period. So this one basically calculates how long it takes you to make your money back based upon this investment. So if it takes you 9.9 months to make your money back, and that is when you're going to be able to recover your CAC, which is not the best. That's definitely not something that you want to build a business around. You typically want to get your payback period less than 6 months. That's where you see with the clients that have the best results. And honestly, you want to see if you can even collect it day one. So now that we understand your CAC and your payback period, the last thing that we're going to look at is your CAC to your gross profit LTV. So right now, this tells us that we have a 2.0 CAC to LTV, which means that you can run this, but it's borderline in terms of if this is something that you want to continue to run. Like I personally always want the LTV to CAC to be 3.0 and I want the payback period to be less than 6 months. Well, if that's the case, let's say that, these are going to stay constant. Let's see how we can mess with the CAC to see exactly what we would need in order to make this work. So let's say, for example, okay, well, what if we got a $200 cost per call? And what if we spent $7,000 a month, right? Where are we at now? Well, now we're at a 2.7 LTV to CAC and we're at a 7.5 payback period, but still not enough. So then out of this itself, what if we closed 30% and we got, let's say, a 190 cost per call? Where are we at now? Okay, now all of a sudden, this makes sense, right? So now we can get a 6-month payback period with a 3.4x return on LTV to CAC. Okay, this makes sense. And then you look at these numbers and you ask yourself, okay, is this realistic? Can I actually do this? Can I spend $190 and get a qualified book demo? Are 60% of the qualified demos going to be showed? Is the close rate going to be 30%? And what does this actually look like? Typically, you want to model out for like worst case scenario so that even so, if those numbers do happen and it's worst case scenario, you're still able to make money and be profitable and still get this 3-to-1 LTV to CAC. Now, the beautiful thing is if you have a higher ticket SaaS, for example, if you're selling even like $1,000 or $2,000 a month, right? Now all of a sudden your LTV to CAC is pretty insane when you get those higher, because most of the time the demos, they stay relatively around the same in terms of get the cost per qualified book demo. So that is a very, very big benefit if you do have a slightly higher ticket SaaS. Now, one thing I also want to talk about as well, let's say that if you have a $500 a month SaaS, really what you should be focusing on is how do you drive this payback period down as much as you can. Now, the way to do that is to collect more cash up front and have what's called a cold traffic offer, where you basically position your offer to either be a quarterly payments or biannual payments, where you can basically collect more cash up front, eliminate the payback period entirely, and then reinvest back into the ads right away so that you don't have a payback period. Because if you don't have a payback period, you literally can take the profit that you made from the first customer and then reinvest that back into the ads so that you can grow back even quicker. So this is the mental model and the mental math that I go through when I'm evaluating a client, whether we want to work together and whether it makes sense for them to run paid ads based upon their current metrics. So here's the bottom line. Paid ads are one of the highest leverage growth channels available to a SaaS company, but they will punish you fast if your market fit is off, your unit economics don't support the CAC, or your offer isn't built for cold traffic. So before you spend a single dollar on ads, you need to be able to answer these things. Do my numbers actually work at a realistic CAC? And do I have an offer strong enough to convert someone who has never heard of me? If the answer is yes to both of these, ads can scale faster than almost anything else you tried. But the reality is even if one of them is no, you'll be paying to find out the hard way. So there's a link below to book a call with our team, and we'll walk through your specific situation and see if paid ads make sense for you based upon what we've seen inside the market. And that's all I have for you guys. So make sure to go like the video, comment, and subscribe. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take it easy. Ciao.